Hello and welcome to another Sales Chats. My name is John Golden from Pipeliner CRM and SalesPOP online sales magazine. That's salespop.net. I am joined as usual by my colleague Martha Neumeister, who is in lovely Vienna, Austria today. How are you doing, Martha?
Hi, thanks, I'm fine.
Good. And our special guest today is Elinor Stutz, who is in Virginia in the US, just outside DC. Welcome, Elinor.
Thank you very much, John.
Yeah, you're welcome. For those of you who are not familiar with our format, this is a live chat with Elinor on the subject of never give up but find a better way. And if you want to engage and join into the conversation, just go on Twitter and use the hashtag SalesChats. That's hashtag SalesChats, and get involved in the conversation. Martha looks after the Twitter feed, and she will answer you there, or she'll interject if there's something interesting to pass on to us. So again, I said our topic today is never give up but find a better way, and so we're in most places right now. We're heading towards the end of the summer, certainly here in Europe and here in the US. And as salespeople, you may be looking at your year and saying, "Oh, it's not going that well right now." And maybe you're even thinking of I'm never going to make my quota, and I'm just going to give up and just do whatever I can for the rest of the year. But Elinor is going to tell us why you shouldn't do that. So, Elinor, in sales, you're constantly faced with obstacles, roadblocks, and things coming out of left field. How do you stop yourself from getting demotivated?
Oh, that's easy to do. But I always suggest that you have your fondest vision in front of you at all times and work backwards to set milestones to achieve that fondest vision, and then set your goals. And a manager taught me in the beginning of my career, it was the best advice: always keep a running task list so you don't waste time wondering what comes next. I think that's where a lot of people fall down. But if you have that running list and you keep marking it off, you're ready for the next step and the next. And that helps to keep you motivated and keep going and be efficient doing it.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, because if you think about it, we live in a world of so much distraction as it is today, right? I mean, things coming from us, you've got your phone buzzing, you've got your emails coming in, you've got, oh, look, somebody just liked my picture on Instagram, I better like that back, and all of that kind of stuff. And when things aren't going well, it's very tempting to escape into the distractions, isn't it?
Oh, it certainly is. And then when you have management breathing down your neck, are you going to make your numbers? How are you going to do it? That makes it even worse.
Mm-hmm. So talk about what you describe as your fondest vision. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, in my sales career, I always wanted to get into the Fortune 100 companies, truthfully, because I didn't like the companies I was working for, and I wanted to have them on my resume. But boy, that was an ordeal to try to get a foot in the door if you weren't working for the biggest and the best company. So I would always have a full pipeline of a mix of different sized companies, because the smaller the company, the quicker the sale. But I still always had my eye on those Fortune 100. And frequently it wasn't the people at the top who could make the decision. They were too burdened with red tape. Whereas it was the lower level people, seemingly lower level, when you treat everyone with equal respect and kindness, that's when magic happens. And they were the ones who frequently got me in the door.
So you were making sure that you had a goal. Sorry, we're just getting a bit of echo right now. Now it's gone. So you were always making sure that regardless of what you were doing, you had a higher goal that you were always aiming towards. And I think what you're saying is that you always, when things get hard, you always need to remind yourself constantly of what that goal is.
Absolutely. Why you're there, what you hope to achieve, and what the end result will be to make everything well worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. So here's another thing, right? Okay, so if I'm sitting here and it's towards the end of summer and I'm looking at the rest of my year and I have a big I have a big delta in my quota. And as I said, it can become very easy just to say, oh, it's unachievable. What would you advise people to do at this point of the year if they're in that situation?
It happens to most people, and more often than we care to admit. But think about the other side of the coin. Say you decide to quit. What are you going to do? Who's going to hire you? Mm-hmm. So you have to keep going, mentally prepare yourself, exercise, feel good, and tell yourself every morning, give yourself a pep talk. I can do this. And then lay out the plan. And when you're laying out a plan, do it at night. Don't waste time during the day. During the day, be as efficient as possible and just keep on going. That's what it takes, fortitude and perseverance.
Yeah, so I like that idea of what you said is lay out your plan at night and during the day be as productive as possible. Because like I said, it's very easy to get distracted or to hide, to kind of avoid the problem, right? And, when a problem avoided just gets bigger, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are some of the other pieces of advice that you would give somebody? Because, you can say to somebody, you've got to be determined, you got to keep your eye on the prize, you've got to be, self-motivated and all of that. But some people don't know how to start that process even.
Yeah. Well, the first thing you need to do is always keep a full pipeline and have things related to one another. So if one doesn't work out, the next one probably will. And keep yourself educated on pick an industry that you enjoy working with and do research on it. Find out who the clientele is for each of the companies within the industry. And then you become the expert in that industry. That helps elevate your credibility too. And then keep on top of your industry and be able to become an advisor, not a salesperson, but an advisor and work to solve problems. That helps enormously too.
Yeah, so that's a great point there. So continually educate yourself on the industries you're selling into. If you have a preferred industry, try to become as much of an expert as you can in that. Obviously, keep up to date with your own industry. Make sure that if there's any in the products or services you're selling, if there's any developments in that, how they apply and how they can help someone. So I guess a lot of it is about continuing to educate yourself, because obviously the more educated and knowledgeable you are, the more confident you can become in your conversations.
Absolutely. And then in addition to that, about the selling and what you're selling, take other types of courses. For me, I was scared to death talking to CEOs in the beginning, so I took a public speaking class and I wound up loving it. And later on, as an entrepreneur, that became another venue for business and met many more people that way. And then once you have your voice, you can become adept at writing and in social media, communicating in many different ways. So gradually, one by one, figure out what you enjoy, and that's where you're more likely to be successful.
Yeah, and I love what you just said there about the investing in yourself, because this is kind of there's a bit of a soapbox of mine, right? And I feel that a lot of people, and not just salespeople, a lot of people in companies, they tend to sit around and wait for what is the company going to do to train me and to make me better, right? And at the end of the day, who cares most about my career and my success? It should be me, right? And therefore, I should be investing in it. And I often, when I'm advise people, I say to them, when I got my first executive level job, like on the executive team at a company, I hired a personal coach. Nobody knew about it. I hired it. I paid for it out of my own pocket, and I did it because I wanted to really prepare myself and do the best job I could. And I feel, to your point there, I feel that salespeople don't invest in themselves enough.
They don't. That's absolutely true. They try to compensate with big egos, and that never works. And I wasn't permitted training in the early days because they figured I was going to fail anyway. So think about it. I had my clientele train me. So is it best to get training firsthand from each client, or better to get the stationary, no wavering type training? That's why I did so well, because I adjusted each sales cycle, so to speak, what the client wanted. So being flexible, incorporating that, and then working on your weaker spots. Whatever you realize you're not good at, that's what needs to be improved. And that's what's going to make you all around strong.
And if you think about it, right, I mean, most of us probably have a hobby or something that we like doing, and we probably invest more time practicing that hobby than we do working on our core career, the thing that actually generates income for us to live on, right?
Right. And that's why you need to figure out what you like best about your job, try to leverage that as much as possible. And, take coursework, like you said. And I did through the years in my entrepreneurship too, hired coaches. And it just launched me much further ahead than if I had not done that.
Yeah, no, it's always great to get that outside perspective, and that, perspective of somebody who is not in the business you're in, but can take a view of things. So, I mean, you mentioned earlier about pipeline, right? So if I'm here at this point of the year and quite frankly, my pipeline's not that strong, what are some of the things I can do now to really build my pipeline?
Okay, well, I always advocate enjoying your conversations with people, whether they're likely to be clients or not. Just have a good, welcoming conversation. When you come back from vacation, think about the conversations that stand out in your mind and begin to contact those people. Find out how their vacation was, anything new in their company, and what their plans are for the rest of the year. Very often that will invite you in for a returning appointment, and you can continue the conversation. And then once you go through your list of the conversations you enjoyed, go to the mid-tier and then the bottom tier, and just go through your entire pipeline and start building it up again. Just give it every ounce of energy.
Yeah, because that's a great point there, because if you think about it, right, so, as a salesperson, you're now, in August and summer's coming to an end, and, you're looking at the rest of the year. But all of your clients or potential prospects out there are generally in the same position, right? So they're looking at the rest of their year and what they want to achieve. So as you said there, it's a great time to have that conversation about how are they going to achieve their goals for the year.
Exactly. And the other point that's very important to remember is don't ever say it's a waste of time checking in, because most companies, departments have to spend their budget before year end or they're going to lose it. So now's the best time to begin checking in.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's obviously out of sight, out of mind. And as I said earlier, I mean, we're so distracted today by all these things flying in and out. Like, I'm not going to, if I have a need, I'm not going to remember that I talked to somebody, 3 months ago about something, right?
Yeah, well, that's why you have to have your database, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you have to have constant reminders of what to do next.
Exactly. And then, obviously, you need a good CRM, and you need to be constantly updating it. So what advice would you give to salespeople? Okay, so it's, get back on track, get yourself motivated, go really work on your pipeline. But how do you stay focused now, right? How do you make sure that, you don't come back and have this burst of energy and then just flame out within 30 days and go back to like, oh, this is just a terrible year?
We've all been there, huh?
Yeah.
So again, you have to self-motivate and give yourself that pep talk every morning. But think about the enjoyable aspects of which companies you like, and then lay out that plan. Giving up just isn't the answer. You've got to find a better way and figure out where that element of fun is. So let me give an example. in the early stages of my career, I hated prospecting. And then I finally had a trainer, and she was very clever. She said, think of it as a game show. What's behind the golden door? And once I made that adjustment, I just loved prospecting. It was the old days when you knocked on doors. But social media is the same thing.
Sure.
You put out good information and people start contacting you. So, yeah, you have to get in the right mindset, and you have to start believing you can. And keep telling yourself, I can do this, I can do this. And then when you start doing that, mentally replay conversations you've had and figure out the missing details. I don't know if you ever watched a detective show called Columbo.
Oh, yes.
A detective used to say, just one more question, and someone referred to me as Columbo, because admittedly, I would forget questions to ask people, and it turned out they'd be of importance. So what I would do, I wouldn't call up and say, hey, I forgot to ask you. That wouldn't sound too professional. I would say, I was thinking about you last night, and I have a new question for you. And you know what? They loved that I was thinking about them. And then they'd say, you know what? Now's a great time for you to come in. Let's discuss it.
Yeah, I love that. Remember, he used to, and I love the Columbo one. That's great. So anybody who's under the age of, I don't know, like 30, 40, should go to YouTube and look up Columbo, because everybody also used to go like, there's just one thing that bothers me.
Yeah. What's your motive?
Yeah, that's
as salespeople, you need to know their motives.
Yeah, that was my terrible Columbo impersonation. But anyway, I want to pick back up on something there, because you said something that I think is really profound for people about what your coach said about treating prospecting like the game show. You know, what's behind the golden door, right? Because a lot of what we've been talking about has been mindset here, right? So if you reframe something that, you know, I hate prospecting. So you say, oh, I hate prospecting. I don't want to cook. I don't want to do this. But if you reframe it as, ooh, I got to find out which is the door that has the big prize behind it, you know. And now it's exciting, and it's just about, oftentimes it's about fooling your mind, right? Reframing the context of what you're looking at.
Exactly. And then I have an add-on story about this. I was pretty proficient at prospecting, but it got tiresome after a while. I was on a new job once again, and I was back to selling big business equipment, color printers, and all of this. So like I said, I always look for the element of fun. I went into a card shop, and I don't know if I violated any copyrights. I'll be the first to admit it, but it was a long time ago. I picked up cards that caught my attention. They were funny to me. And I put my own caption under it. So one was a picture of a truck high in the branches of a tree. And I said, set your goals higher. Another was a woman in a bathing suit in an inner tube in the middle of her swimming pool, her hair wrapped in a towel with a laptop. And I said, keep your business afloat. Call me. Right. And then there was one of a dog with a baseball cap on. And I said, doggone it, call me. Well, the business that I was representing paid for the mailings. So I sent one a month for 3 months in a row. And after I was certain they all received it, I'd call up for an appointment, and they'd say, please come in. We're dying to see who's sending these. And I'd go in, and some of them, took a while to get in touch with them because I had sent out so many. The flyers were all over the offices. My competitors couldn't stand what I was doing, and I got lots of business that way.
Yeah, that's a fantastic story, Elinor. I love it, and there's so many ways that people could adapt that. But I think the key message here is get creative, right?
Yes,
get creative.
Absolutely, and have fun with what you're doing. People hear the humor in your voice and the creative ideas. And then they're going to think, my goodness, maybe she'll have some good ideas for us.
Yeah. No, I think that's incredibly important. The things that you've outlined there is like, get creative, enjoy it, project. And I think that's another piece, is project the image that you're somebody who would be interesting to talk to, right? As opposed to just another salesperson, right? And like,
My tagline became a breath of fresh air.
There you go.
I didn't know as much as a lot of people, but they enjoyed the conversations.
Yeah, and I think and again, I think you've touched on a key point there. Is like, is maybe if you're a salesperson and you're struggling right now, is maybe you wanting to take a step back and say, what is my brand? Like, who am I as a salesperson? Like, what do I project? What do I want to project? Maybe you're in an industry where projecting a very serious analytical approach is the right one, where therefore develop that. If you're in another one where you've got so many competitors that you need to stand out by being a little bit more entertaining, do that. But I don't think people spend enough time, or salespeople spend enough time saying, like, who am I and what do I really want to project?
That's an excellent point. And then put it on the client too.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out on a personal level, professionally personal, who they are. What are they trying to accomplish? And when you put their goals first, then you begin to achieve your goals. The bond establishes. And that's more important than all the knowledge. I had managers come out with me, and I had to apologize after the fact for their nonstop talking and just, having no relationship built with the client. It was horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you touched on a point there as well. I think another critical one is, figure out, obviously, focus on who you're selling to, and remember that people are different, right? Mm-hmm. And as we said, you may be selling to somebody who is highly analytical. Therefore, you need to give them the data that they need. Right. You may be selling to somebody who's more like, who likes to take a 30 or 50,000 foot view of things. So you got to be more big picture with them. So you've got to adapt to who you're selling to.
Absolutely. And then here's another tip. And it's kind of funny because when you're selling to bigger companies and they're publicly traded, everybody loves the idea of becoming wealthy one day on the company's stock. Right. So talk about, gee, I see your stock's doing well. What do you think the forecast is, or something like that? And they all eat it up.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're selling to Facebook right now, probably not a good idea.
No.
But no, I think, but I think, no, I think that's a great point as well. And again, it shows you've done your homework. It shows a connection. And as you said, it's an emotional connection too, because yes, the person sitting across you is probably a stockholder if they're, higher up in the company.
Yeah. I'll try to get on the personal side.
Mm-hmm. So what are some other last quick pieces of advice you would give to a salesperson who is maybe facing a difficult year? So we've gone through, getting, organizing yourself, motivating yourself, building up your pipeline, getting out there, reconnecting with people. Is there anything else you would advise them to do?
Yeah, well, the other thing I think it's frequently overlooked is that everybody at a company is a decision maker. The guard with guns, secretaries, wherever you are, or if you're calling or video conferencing, whoever steps in, it's not the executive, treat them with respect and kindness. And it works miracles because they report in. And frequently, even the receptionist might be a family member to the CEO. And right. They will give strong recommendation to do business with you. You never know who you're talking to.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because it's obviously very tempting that if you get, say you get stuck at the administrative assistant or the receptionist or whatever, it's very tempting for you to be like, oh, I just need to get past this person, and to communicate that, even not deliberately, but you communicate your frustration or whatever. Yeah. But what you're saying is, like, just treat them with respect, treat them as an important part of the process, and you'll go a long way.
Yeah, ask them for advice.
Mm-hmm.
And that will go many, many yards.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great one just to underline again, is ask them for advice. I think that's fantastic. I mean, how many people ask gatekeepers for advice? How many people just treat gatekeepers as somebody to get by?
Yeah, so I've had numerous ones help me get into the right office.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thank them on the way out too.
Yeah, no, that's really important. Again, as you said, it's really important to be grateful and to remember, and don't forget the people as you move up the chain in your sales process. Don't forget the people who helped you get there.
Right. And then I'd like to add one more thought.
Yeah.
It's for the entrepreneurial souls out there. That is, contribute 10% of your time to community service. When you become good at what you do and you know precisely what people need, offer that help. And at work, be a team leader. Offer help, and then people will support you. We all need support at any level.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic note to finish on here, because I love the ideas like give back to other people when you have achieved something, and internally in your organization, it's like help other people to succeed as well. Take that time, because it'll come back to you, but it's also just the right thing to do anyway.
Yes,
regardless. Yeah. Okay. Elinor, before we finish up, there's two things I want to do. First of all, we always like to ask guests their power tip, right? So what do you, Elinor, personally do to set yourself up for success? What do you do every day? What's your success secret?
I have that running task list still, and I did create a postcard. If anybody wants it, it's a PDF now. Be happy to share it with your audience.
Yeah.
And I'm just on it. Time management. That's crucial to get more done than most people are able to.
Yeah, no, I love that time management, because, as I said, I mean, we live in this world that, personally, I believe that we have this get out of jail free card that we think we have now, where we say, "Oh, we're so much busier than we've ever been in our lives." Right? This is the busiest, and reality is we're more distracted than we've ever been. It's not that we're more busy; it's that we have more distractions, and we give in to those distractions.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, so I love that idea of like being really good about time management. And then the last thing, Elinor, is I'd love you to share a little bit more about yourself with everybody and how they can learn more about you. I know you got a fantastic blog as well, so if you want to just share that information with our audience.
Oh, sure. My blog is about personal experiences I see every day: customer service, sales, business development. It's at smoothsale.net. SMOOTHSALE.net. And I've had the good fortune of saying the wrong thing at a networking event, that I'm a sales trainer, and the laughter or the shrieking just didn't stop. And someone said, you have to write a book to establish credibility. So I also want to say, with the motivation, your darkest moments bring your brightest light. And my book, I hope you don't mind my putting it up.
No, absolutely.
Nice Girls Do Get the Sale, Relationship Building That Gets Results, is on Amazon, international bestseller, because of that horrible experience. I put everything I knew about sales into the book.
Yeah.
And just keep going. I'm not kidding. Your worst situation, I survived a broken neck, and it was in that moment I realized I needed to start helping communities. And with that, I got a signal I'd be well. It was a near-death experience. The whole hospital staff was shocked. But I began helping job seekers understand how to sell themselves on interviews, and many of them got jobs. So be a good person. People, you'll build credibility and trust. You'll build a reputable brand, and that's how sales begin to take off.
Yeah, no, I loved it, and thanks, Elinor, as always. Very inspirational, very informative, and entertaining too.
That's part of the fun.
All right. Well, listen, my name is John Golden, SalesPOP Online Sales Magazine, Pipeliner CRM. Elinor Stutz, smoothsale.net, is it?
Yes, it is. Happy to answer any questions.
And Martha in Vienna, thank you for running the Twitter chat. I'm sure it was there was plenty of activity going on there today.
You are right.
Very good. Okay. Well, that's it for this sales chat. We'll see you all again for another one really soon. Thank you.